Your patients are quitting care far too soon. It's affecting their health, their life, and your practice. There is new and powerful communication technology that can fix this problem forever. My name is Dr. Mark Radermacher. When I was 14 years old, I had a rather severe car accident. At that time, the only healthcare system that gave me relief and solved some of the challenges I had was chiropractic. I went to chiropractic school, opened up my practice, and realized there was a huge missing piece for the patients, and that was they just didn't understand what we as chiropractors understand because of our education in chiropractic. I went on a quest. At that time, I decided I am going to figure out the absolute best system of communications possible. Something that could be done repetitively, something that could be done simply, and something that could be done by almost anyone who tried to learn the system. This technology is now available. After practicing, I sold my practice over 20 years ago and moved into consulting. I'm working with doctors from around the country and on a number of different continents. The primary quest for these people is to learn the same communication system that I had developed over the years in my own practice. That communication system is making the difference today. Doctor, the problem is your patients don't understand the same information you understand. But it's more involved than that. You've got the academic background. You've got 6 or 7 or 8 years of study under your belt. These patients don't have that. You've got the experience of taking care of hundreds, if not thousands, of patients in your career. Your patients could never get that. You have the understanding of your own care and the care you've delivered to your family members and friends. They couldn't possibly have that understanding. So in other words, you know and they don't, but the information they need to learn has to come very differently than the way you learned it yourself. In other words, you have to customize the information for these patients. You have to make it real for them. You have to blow life into it. You have to make it simple so that they can really understand it, and you have to allow them to discuss this information with you so they can actually begin to own it themselves. Imagine if they did. Imagine if they started to get the care that you get. There's a very important point. Here's a premise. Honestly look in the mirror and ask yourself, how many adjustments have you had so far in your life? When many chiropractors are asked to honestly answer the question, the number is as little as maybe 500 visits, sometimes as big as 3,000 or 3,500 visits. It's a lot of care. And you're not done getting care, are you? What's your average patient retention in your office? What's the PVA? How long do they stay? 15 visits? 20 or 30 visits, maybe 40? There's a lot of difference between 30 or 40 visits for patients and hundreds of visits for yourself. Why that dichotomy? Again, you know they don't. There is a system. There's a technology in communications that you can learn, anyone can learn, but you have to put in the time and effort to do so. Now, what would it be worth if your patients understood the difference between pain and problem? Admit it, you don't like it, but the average patient comes into you with a pain, and literally they think their pain is their problem. Well, you know better. You know there's a problem causing the pain. The problem is you can't just say that. You can't say it in one sentence. You have to teach these people what that means. They also don't come into your office at all ever thinking that they've got a life impact problem or challenge. In other words, people don't come in your office thinking, gosh, I can't play softball anymore. Gosh, I haven't been running since my low back pain started. Gee whiz, I can't pick up my 2-year-old anymore since this low back pain started. They're not thinking that. Do you want to know what they're really thinking? Number one, they come into you thinking, I hope this isn't a serious medical problem. And number two, they come into your office day one thinking, I hope this is the doctor who can cure my problem. If you can communicate exceedingly well in the first visit, called the pre-consultation, the typical patient will walk out your door thinking, I do have a serious problem. It's one that's impacting my life in negative ways every day, day in and day out. And they leave your door thinking, nobody's asked me these kinds of questions before. No doctor's ever connected with me like this before. In fact, this doctor really seemed like he knew what I was going through. I like it here. This was the right decision. I'm in the right place. There are 7 communications topics, doctors, in a modern chiropractic practice. Number 1 is the pre-consultation. Number 2 is the report of findings. Number 3 is the adjusting dialogue. Number 4 is the spinal care class. Number 5 is the re-report of findings. Number 6 is patient fade or excuses about money or time. And number 7 is patient minimization, meaning they may minimize the seriousness of their problem. They may minimize the value of chiropractic itself. The goal is to communicate so well with the first 5 points that patients fading about money or time, that patients minimizing about the seriousness of their problem or the value of chiropractic care really don't happen very often. In fact, fades and minimizations can be used as a barometer as to how well you have learned to communicate and how well you are using that knowledge to communicate with your patients. We will in a moment start by talking about the pre-consultation.